I love that everyone's sitting in front. It's very fun. If I ever decided to teach elementary instead of high school, this is what I feel like. Also, to speak loudly on this thing. I'm just letting you guys know what it's like up here. Also, I want to say that this story is actually written by Alyssa Ladd. She hates me for saying that. She's amazing and wonderful, and she submitted a ton of grown story times, and I want her in my life all the time. That sounds weird, but it's the truth, so okay. I have to raise this up. Okay, I'm not. Okay. 4 friends and I created a weight loss challenge with a complicated system of points based on diet and exercise, weekly weigh-ins, and $50 on the line each week. On the first day of the challenge, I woke up early, worked out, ate a meager breakfast, and went to work, where I noticed that there was a sign in the break room saying there was a blood drive happening that day. Now, I would like to tell you I signed up for the blood drive because I'm a good person. But did you know that there are 650 calories in 1 pint of blood? We were in the first 12 hours of our weight loss challenge, and I was still highly motivated to win. I had given blood half a dozen times before in my life, the standard 1 pint, and always felt fine. I was heavier than I'd ever been, and the blood center employee notified me that I now qualified to give a double red blood cell donation because you weigh more than 150 pounds. What a bitch. Houston blood banks are running really low after days of heavy flooding, she told me. You're the universal donor, so your blood is the most sought after. You'll actually feel better after this special donation because we'll be giving you fluids so you'll be extra hydrated. Science. So a few things about this procedure that I would learn in the coming hours and days. The average adult body has 10 to 11 pints of blood in it. Once hooked up to the machine, they removed 2 pints of blood, spun the red blood cells out to keep for themselves, mixed the remaining byproduct with a saline solution, and put it back in my body. And then they did that again. Hence the double red blood cell donation. So when all was said and done, they had removed 4 pints of blood from my body. Just imagine 4 pint glasses lined up full of blood. They removed that from my body, depleted it of all red blood cells, which contain iron and, do things like carry oxygen to the body's organs, minor functions like that. They replaced those red blood cells with a saline solution and went back in the body. They removed the needle from my arm. I held it over my head and counted to 60, and they told me, "You're good to go." I didn't get up from the chair immediately. "You're good," they repeated. "You can go." Turns out these vampires were rushing me out because they had a line of people waiting to use the chair I was in. I took my pack of cookies and walked up a flight of stairs back to my office. As I walked down the hallway, I started feeling hot and faint and seeing black spots. I sat down at my desk chair, exhausted. The black spots were taking over more of my vision, and I was finding it hard to catch my breath. I knew I needed help. I picked up the phone and I tried to dial the 4-digit extension of my secretary, a number I used to know by heart. But now, my fingers clumsily bashed the keys and I couldn't get the number right. My office is in a corner, and you can't see my desk from the hallway. I knew if I passed out in there, was a good chance that no one would find me for a while. I stood up and ambitiously decided to walk to the office next door and tell them that I had just given blood and that I didn't feel well. I was in the middle of the hallway, staggering forward and back like a drunk, when my body went stiff and I fell like a tree straight backwards. The sound of my head hitting the ground could be heard by half of the floor. I am told it sounded like someone or a few someones had dropped armfuls of encyclopedias onto cement. Immediately, people came running from their offices to find me unconscious on the floor. Panic ensued. To me, however, it felt like a really peaceful, deep sleep. The kind of sleep where you drool all over the pillow. The kind of sleep where you're in the middle of a good dream and you hear your alarm clock ringing, or when you were younger, your mom calling your name, but you will yourself not to wake up. I could hear someone saying my name over and over again, but I was actively ignoring it. When I came to, a minute later, there were 7 or 8 people standing over me and 911 had already been called. The first order of business was to dispel the rumor that had started in the 60 seconds of my unconsciousness, the rumor that I was having a seizure. I mean, I get it. My body was seizing uncontrollably from dangerously low blood sugar. My eyes were rolling back in my head, and my long-sleeve dress was hiding the bandage from the blood drive. The managing partner of the firm, the boss of all bosses, was one of the people standing over me as we waited for the paramedics. "What happened?" he asked. "Bob, I gave too much blood. Should have kept more for myself." I was trying to keep it lighthearted. I had been at this job less than a year, and I didn't want to be noticed at all, especially for being sprawled on the hallway carpet with my head cracked open on the floor. When I collapsed, I fell out of my shoes like a cartoon character, leaving them standing neatly side by side a few feet away. My knee-length flowy dress had billowed up over my upper thighs, exposing me and my thong to the crowd of coworkers, bosses, secretaries, and summer interns. One intern, an entitled high school kid whose dad was a client, stood over me just staring down at me in shock. "Are these your glasses?" he asked, in that monotone voice that all 17-year-old boys have. I looked up and nodded. "Whoa, you were like 10 feet behind you." 2 ambulances from 2 separate fire stations came to my aid. In the fire world, that's a 2-alarm fire. The first set of paramedics checked me out, fed me a tube of lemon-flavored paste glucose, it's that thing, and concluded that 1, my neck was not broken, and 2, my brain was not bleeding. All great news. The paramedics from the second fire station arrived with an EKG machine to check my heart. They helped me sit up, and the room started spinning, and I thought I was going to throw up. The more concerning sensation, however, was the feeling that my bra was no longer on. There was still a large crowd gathered around watching me eat glucose paste. So I motioned for my secretary to come closer, and I whispered, "Did someone remove my bra while I was unconscious?" This was her cue to clear the hallway and send everyone back to their office. "No," she assured me, "no one touched your breast while you were passed out." Also, great news. Turns out the sheer force of my fall was just too much for my bra. It was not simply unhooked. The fabric and underwire had ripped down the middle of my chest, and it hung uselessly underneath my V-neck dress, and I was coming dangerously close to a nip slip in front of a bunch of old men at work. Then, The paramedic holding the EKG machine, Chris, the only attractive firefighter of the 8 who came to my aid, announced that I needed to remove my shirt so that he could perform the EKG. Someone wisely advised that we do not do that in the middle of the hallway, but I still couldn't stand up without vomiting. So he put his arms underneath my armpits and dragged me backwards across the carpet into my office. Real dignified like. He said I could keep my bra on and that he just needed to put sensors on my chest, back, and stomach. Well, it must be your lucky day, I told him as I removed my dress and made a futile attempt to repair my bra with a binder clip. He laughed uncomfortably. So there I sat, barefoot, bare-breasted, on the floor of my office, the office I coveted for 3 long years of law school, cupping my boobs in my hands and trying to suck it in while a cute firefighter put stickers on my boobs and tried not to smirk. Thankfully, the paramedics ruled out any life-threatening conditions requiring immediate attention, so I didn't have to ride to the ER in an ambulance. A few hours later, because my pain, nausea, and confusion were getting worse, I called a paramedic friend of mine to ask his opinion on whether I should go to an ER to get a CT scan. I told him what happened, and he laughed. Oh my God, that was you? The guys have been talking about that in the station house all day. As luck would have it, my friend had been in paramedic school with Chris, the cute firefighter. Chris ended up asking our mutual friend for my number, saying he felt like he should probably take me to dinner since he had already seen the goods. What a dick. If you were disappointed just now that this story seemed to be turning into a romantic comedy, don't worry. That jerk never called. I lost every single week of the weight loss challenge. And now, every time there's a blood drive at work, I'm inundated with teasing emails and phone calls from coworkers, hilariously asking me if I'm going to donate blood. No good deed goes unpunished. Give it up for Alyssa Lynch, she's amazing.